My two kids are infected with mycoplasma pneumonia. They are hospitalized and we are taking care of them every day. I'm sure their mother is worried and can't eat or sleep well every day. The doctor told me that my wife's immune system had been weakened, so she was infected herself. She had a fever of 39 degrees Celsius or 102.2 degrees Fahrenheit and was admitted to the hospital for examination. The doctor told her that she was infected with white lungs. The doctor said that ECMO was needed to save her life, and we have already spent more than US $8,500. I want to save my wife's life and I won't give up. Originally, it looked like she was going to get better this month, but now she is said to have been infected with bacterial pneumonia. And now she suddenly has a high fever of 39.6 degrees Celsius or 103.28 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 days in a row. So I am very anxious. I can't save her halfway and stop the treatment. I've been struggling with this for a month now, and it's really hard to bear. Please help the mother of the children. The video we've seen is what many families in China are experiencing. The truth is that the epidemic is back. Due to the tight control of information by the Chinese government, many Chinese and overseas Chinese still don't understand what's going on. Medical professionals and ordinary people from China have been telling overseas Chinese media over the phone that many lives are being lost as a result. The recordings of these calls have been sound processed for the protection of the interviewees. Since September 2023, a new wave of outbreaks has once again swept through most of China. It's common to see hospitals everywhere, especially pediatric departments, overwhelmed. As usual, the CCP is covering it up, especially the death toll. During the transition period between 2023 and 2024, officials are even more low-key in their handling of the situation. On December 24, 2023, officials alleged that respiratory diseases were on a downward trend. Recently, the number of respiratory disease diagnoses and treatments at outpatient and emergency departments in medical institutions across the country continued to show an overall downward trend. Data showed that on December 22nd, the total number of respiratory disease diagnoses and treatments at outpatient and emergency departments of medical institutions at and above the secondary level was 8.2% lower than that of last Friday, and 30.02% lower than the peak period. The CCP officials have deliberately downplayed the new coronavirus in this wave of outbreak. The Chinese government and hospitals first called it mycoplasma pneumonia and later called it a mixed infection of multiple viruses, including influenza, rhinovirus, and neocoronavirus. However, doctors around the world and the public generally sense that it is the new coronavirus infection because the symptoms are similar to those of the previous new coronavirus infection, or even more serious. A while ago, there were infections in every household. The government officials uniformly said that they were influenza and claimed that multiple viruses were prevalent at the same time. Perhaps the cover-up is becoming too hard. By December 28, 2023, the Center for Disease Control, CDC, began to admit part of the truth. They claim that the Omicron variant JN.1, which is more transmissible and immune-evasive, could develop into the dominant epidemic strain of the new coronavirus in China, and that the outbreak is expected to rise, with an increased risk of severe illness and death in vulnerable populations.
Recently, the JN.1 coronavirus strain has spread rapidly around the world and has become the dominant strain, and related infections in some countries have increased significantly. Currently, the domestic COVID-19 infection is at a low level, and the JN.1 strain accounts for a low proportion, but is on the rise and may gradually develop into a dominant strain nationwide. The JN.1 strain still belongs to the Omicron series mutant strains. Based on the current evidence assessment, the World Health Organization believes that the transmissibility and immune evasion capability of the JN.1 are enhanced, but there is no evidence to suggest that its pathogenicity is increased. Moreover, there is a cross-effect immune protection between previous infection and vaccination with the XBB strain, a subvariant of Omicron. So the WHO predicted the public health risk of the JN.1 to be low.
February 10th, 2024 is the traditional Chinese New Year, and it's just around the corner. It's customary for people out of town to go home for New Year's Eve. So China's airports, train stations, and long-distance buses are now at their most crowded time of the year. Government departments who know the truth are actually very worried.
At present, the New Year's Day and the Spring Festival are approaching. The Spring Festival travel rush is about to begin, and the flow of people will increase significantly. Accordingly, China's coronavirus infections will rebound to a certain extent. During the Spring Festival travel rush, the infections of COVID-19 and other respiratory diseases may increase, especially the risk of severe illness and death among vulnerable groups such as the elderly and those with chronic underlying diseases. In the next step, we will continue to follow the changes in foreign epidemic situations and dominant strains and conduct timely monitoring, early warning, and risk assessment.
Against this backdrop, the official from the National Center for Disease Control and Prevention said that it's necessary to promote the vaccination of the new coronavirus vaccine containing XBB components for the elderly, patients with chronic underlying diseases, and other people at high risk of severe illnesses. This kind of subtle expression by the Chinese government doesn't give a clear picture to many ordinary citizens about the situation they are in. We observed that in fact, COVID has never left China. Unwilling to mention it again, the CCP authorities have used influenza A or mycoplasma pneumonia as a cover-up. Dr. Lin Xiaoshu, an American virologist, told overseas Chinese media as early as November 2023 that mycoplasma pneumonia doesn't easily cause lung infections, or white lungs as people call them. If it is mycoplasma pneumonia, managing it with antibiotics that target mycoplasma pneumonia would not be difficult, and the drugs wouldn't fail to work. Therefore, from a professional point of view, it should be a variant of the new coronavirus, and it cannot be ruled out that there is a combined attack of two or more viruses and pathogens. A family member from the Chinese military also told overseas Chinese media, "This wave of outbreak is actually the new coronavirus. The person who tipped off this information has both his parents in the military. His parents are near the upper echelons of the CCP, at the level of the Grand Military Command. This outbreak is said to have first broken out among groups of children in the northeastern part of the mainland and quickly spread throughout the region, resulting in a large number of patients with severe pneumonia and white lungs." A lot of children are infected with white lungs. When they are taken to hospitals, the treatment is to wash lungs. The Chinese media have widely quoted so-called doctors as saying lung cleaning is a common operation in the respiratory department. But an anonymous Chinese doctor told overseas Chinese media, "That's just to fool the parents. Lungs can't be washed at all. Once washed, a person will be ruined. It plays the people for fools." When we first reported on this previously, some audience members asked if this wave of so-called respiratory infections or strange colds would cost people's lives. As of today, we can answer with certainty, yes, and in huge numbers. The CCP has been strictly controlling all information about the outbreak, so we have limited footage of the outbreak. People living in China are only interviewed anonymously over the phone. What we can see is that funerals are taking place everywhere in rural China these days. Some netizens revealed that many funeral parlors in China are already swamped. One resident of Nanyang City, Henan Province, Mr. Zhou, recently told overseas Chinese media that he learned from a friend who works at a funeral parlor that the crematorium has 8 incinerators, all of which burn bodies 24 hours a day. It's quite scary. Other people describe the sudden deaths of quite a number of people around them who weren't that old. Because the urn business is booming, a worker he knows who makes furniture switched to making urns. One urn manufacturer in his city produced more than 50,000 urns in the first half of this year. Others are saying that the mortuaries and government-run funeral parlors are no longer able to meet the public demand. Despite crematoriums now running full blast every day, bodies that don't get cremated in time are put in freezers. They are then given a schedule and cremation queues take a while. Despite the tightly controlled information, there are some extraordinary events that have surprised the Chinese public, including the sudden deaths of an increasing number of prominent elite figures. We previously reported on the sudden death of Hong Kong movie star Kathy Chow, who had enthusiastically helped the CCP promote a vaccine made in China. Her sudden death made it to the top of social media charts. So far, Chinese officials have denied that her death was related to the new coronavirus. On December 24, 2023, Luo Qi, a well-known financial media personality working at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, died at the age of 36. The Hong Kong Exchange, one of the world's major exchanges, was launched on June 27, 2000. Following the transfer of Hong Kong's sovereignty to mainland China in 1997, it can be said that the Hong Kong Exchange became a bridgehead for the CCP to raise money internationally. Luo's hometown is in Wanzai County, Jiangxi Province. A knowledgeable source in this county told overseas Chinese that Luo Qi died of a new coronavirus. On December 24, 2023, Luo's mother released an obituary through her personal media social account, HK Exchange Luo Qi. It reads, "My beloved daughter Luo Qi passed away in Wanzai at 5:50 p.m. on December 24, 2023. Due to a sudden onset of severe pneumonia after all efforts to save her." The feed of Luo's circle of friends was last updated on December 20th, when she posted, "My aura reminded me that I actually have a fever." As seen in the screenshot, her body temperature at the time was 1.7 degrees Celsius above normal. What is aura? The official CCP media reported on June 13, 2020, that scientists at the Rockefeller Neurological Institute at the University of Virginia had created a digital platform that could detect symptoms of new coronavirus pneumonia up to 3 days in advance using the Aura Ring, a wearable health and activity tracking device. From December 20th, when Luo Qi found herself with a fever, to her passing away on December 24th, it only took 4 days. Many netizens questioned, what kind of disease is so dangerous so fast that she didn't seek treatment at the hospital? We observed that recently a large number of officials, scholars, and celebrities working for the CCP have died of illness or sudden death in bundles, and the age is getting younger and younger. For example, on December 15, 2023, Tong Xiao'o, the founder of Shangtong Technology, who was called the first person of artificial intelligence in China, suddenly passed away at the age of 55. The news shook the world. The real cause of his death is still unclear. Tong developed face recognition technology and worked with the CCP to apply it in many fields to monitor and suppress dissidents in China. Shangtong Technology was added to the list of U.S. export-controlled entities by the U.S. Department of Commerce in 2019. In December 2021, the U.S. Department of the Treasury placed the company on the investment blacklist of Chinese military-industrial complex companies. The list of known sudden deaths in December 2023 alone is long. Below is a partial list of such individuals. Many of them are leading talents or celebrities in China's professional circles or among the elite of the industry. One member of our editorial team, a Chinese national, learned through her WeChat circle of friends that the sudden deaths of these industry elites were a shock to those around them. This lady here sees where the real danger lies for China.
Now, this epidemic is probably caused by the aftermath of Wuhan pneumonia. The problem is that the experts dare not say anything, and we, the people who aren't experts in this field, can't explain it clearly. Therefore, no one dares to tell the truth now, because after the incident of Liu Wenliang, who would pay the price of life to tell the truth? This is why this society is very frightening. If no one dares to tell the truth about public health and safety, there will really be a big problem.
Li Wenliang was a former eye doctor at China's Wuhan downtown hospital. He was also one of the first people in the world to sound the alarm about the COVID-19 virus. On December 30th, 2019, Li disclosed in a WeChat group of his classmates that 7 cases of SARS were confirmed at the South China Fruit and Seafood Market, and that they were treated in the hospital where he worked. Li was subsequently interrogated by the hospital, admonished by the police, and died on February 7, 2020, at the age of 34, after being infected with COVID-19. At present, China's doors are still wide open, welcoming visitors from abroad with great joy. The unilateral visa-free entry China granted to citizens from 6 countries has resulted in a significant boom in inbound tourism, and facilitated business collaborations between Chinese and foreign companies over the past month. With the visa-free entry policy effective from December 1, 2023, ordinary passport holders from France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, and Malaysia can enter China visa-free for business, tourism, visiting relatives and friends, and transit for up to 15 days. There are many Malaysians who want to travel to China. Previously, we had to apply for visas locally, which took at least 1 to 2 weeks. Now, it's so convenient that we can be more flexible with our travel plans.
After the visa-free policy takes effect, I will probably come more often, maybe every 2 to 3 months. There are many places I want to visit and explore.
Since December 1st, the number of travelers entering China from countries that enjoy the visa-free policy at the Shenzhen airport has exceeded 20,000, with a month-on-month growth of over 20%. The number of people entering from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia alone has jumped by nearly 30%. There will be a substantial growth of travelers. In this context, we will surely put more flights into service, more flights to and from Barcelona and Kuala Lumpur, particularly during the Chinese Lunar New Year period. We will have 2 daily flights to Kuala Lumpur and 3 weekly flights to Barcelona.